Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
Wow, this feels completely awkward. Even a couple of days off here and there for the holidays makes everything seem a little bit different. So glad to be back in the chair here for a Monday edition of the JP Peterson Show. Thank you all so much for joining us. We got a lot to get to because we missed a little bit last week. So we'll catch you up on all the stuff we hope to there's a lot to get to. The Lightning, certainly the aftermath of Stammergeddon. Eric Erlindson's going to join us. He was actually on with us live the day everything went down. It hadn't gone down yet officially, but we had talked about looks like Stammer's gone. So that we'll get the full effect. Great articles last week on lightninginsider.com. So we'll chat with Eric Erlinson at 10:15. So much to talk about with your Tampa Bay Rays. A sweep at the hands of the Rangers. A possible sale. We've been talking about this for a long, long time. The stadium deal, big votes are coming up. Is that going to happen? A lot of chatter about that. So we'll get to all of it. We got soccer to talk about, tennis to talk about, NASCAR to talk about. And of course, we'll be doing some Bucks as well. We're going to begin our training camp preview by position with looking at the safety position. So we'll welcome in you, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. That's a lot of stuff there. I was telling you off air, I'm like, I can't recall a better June, and now we're into July, if you can believe it. And we're 8 days into July, by the way. We're moving quickly here. I can't recall a better June-July swing of sports.
Yeah.
I honestly cannot. Like, I mean, I know the Rays are playing and everything, and I'm doing my best to watch those games, which, this weekend was testing me a little bit. But just between all the soccer going on, the golf, the tennis, the motorsports, and everything else in between, like, I feel like we have a full plate every single weekend to come back and discuss here on Mondays. And that's usually not the case. I'm telling you, when we get into June and July.
Yeah, there haven't been any really meaty stories to kind of jump into, which there typically are, but there's just great competition.
Yeah, the action all over the place is fantastic right now.
Football has become, and the NFL has become such this monolithic giant that we feel the entire world revolves around it. And when we get away from it, even for a couple of weeks, we open our eyes and go, God, tennis is really interesting. I love tennis. I love Wimbledon. By the way, as you know, your auntie Jane is over there with Gigi, so I'm trying to coerce them into jumping on to do a little interview with us this week, and in between the Pims and the nice Guinness. So anyway, we're trying to get them to jump on because I love the event, absolutely love the event, and this year has been incredible, especially on the women's side. Total carnage. Our own Clearwater's Danielle Collins is still very much in the mix. I believe she's playing today. Big match for her. She's going to represent the U.S. in the Olympics, I believe. I believe she's on the Olympic team. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal in tennis. And on the men's side, I was watching the Tiafoe Alcaraz match, 5-setter the other day. That was just absolutely spectacular. Two of the great shot makers in the game going mano-a-mano. Tiafoe had a 2-1 lead, but could not finish the deal against the defending champ, but just the quality of play was unbelievable. I was watching Madison Keys yesterday and her poor boyfriend. Did you see that?
I didn't. What happened?
I actually watched it live. Well, there's an unwritten rule in producing games, right? If you go to a cutaway shot, as we call it, away from the action to a just a fan or, a coach, a player, a family member, or something like anywhere. Like if they start to, go to the nose, like you get off the shot. I mean, we all have to do it from time to time. And you should probably be more aware, as he is now, that the camera can be on you at any time. But there's a gentleman's agreement that if somebody goes to the nose, off the shot. Oh, he's going to get off. I've been in trucks when it's just that's what you do. But not ESPN. They stayed with the shot for 20 seconds of him going in. I'm not going to try to duplicate it or anything. We all know what it looks like. Flicked it. That's so wrong. That's so wrong. Yeah, that's just so wrong. Poor dude, just getting roasted on TMZ. But everybody, there are people taking shots at ESPN too. Just not right. It's not right. Anyway, the match itself was fantastic, and Madison Key was up 5-2 in the third, and had to retire for a leg injury. So that was, so the women's draw was crazy open. The men's draw has been fantastic. So that I'm watching soccer. I watched the Uruguay Brazil game, penalty kicks. Dude, what was that? What was that?
That right there is called South American soccer right there. When it's a rivalry game like that, it's physical. It's very physical. The ref was like, there was like 40 fouls. There was like 40 fouls in that game. And Uruguay was just content, like, hey, we're going to get inside Brazil's heads here, and we're going to try to push them and bait them, and they did. And they had 10 men. Listen, they fell to 10 men, and they were like, we got to play the penalties.
Yeah.
Got to do what you got to do.
And they got to do what you got to do. And incredible game. But that was like an absolute slugfest. I mean, they were just throwing people down and no calls. And then the calls they did make were just bizarre. So that was interesting. So the Copa America and the European Championships, what do we call that?
The Euros.
The Euros. That's been fantastic. So catch us up on that. What's our Final Four now? Because Portugal went through on penalties, right?
Well, no. France got them on penalties. So
France got them.
It'll be France versus Spain on one side, and then the other side is going to be England and the Netherlands. Which, funny enough, France, the Netherlands, and England have played some of the most boring football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, out there. And like France, for example, France has not scored a goal from the open run of play the entire tournament. They had an Mbappe penalty, they had an own goal, and then everything else they've gone to penalties. That's how France has made it to the semifinal. England, it's well documented.
As screwed up as their politics right now.
Yeah, England's well documented. They have the best players probably in the tournament, and for whatever reason, they can't make it work. The manager he's the scapegoat there, and he is part of the blame, but they can't make it work. The Netherlands, kind of the same thing. And then Spain's the most exciting team. Spain, which used to be the team that would bore you to death, would be Spain. They would win World Cups and Euros, but they bore you to death doing it. Now they play the entertaining brand of soccer. So Spain has to be the odds-on favorite of those four remaining.
I watched a little bit of the Canada. Who did they play? It was a really entertaining game. Oh, who are they? Now, by the way, Canada is now better at soccer than the United States is.
And they have the coach that many in U.S. soccer wish they had, who's also American, Jesse Marsh. And
he took a shot, did he not? Like a deserved shot. Somebody asked him about the U.S.
It was
team.
against Venezuela, by the way.
Yeah, Venezuela. Oh my God, that was incredible. And Canada looked really good. They were creating chances all over the place, unlike the American team. And Jesse Marsh took a shot. You think he could be the next coach? Was that him making a bid to be the coach?
There's no secret that Jesse Marsh would love to be the coach of the United States men's soccer team.
At this point, what he's doing with Team Canada, has he not secured the job? Do we not fire Berhalter right after this tournament and hire him? Because he said with these talented, he basically just campaigned for the job. He said with these talented players, the results are just unacceptable. Basically, I'm paraphrasing here.
Correct. That was his sell job. That was his sales pitch.
Does he get the gig? He has to. Does he not?
I think he'll be in the running, but there's a lot of talk about U.S. soccer and how much money they're willing to spend here if they're willing to part ways with Berhalter. And if you know much about soccer, there is a lot of good, really good head coaches, managers rather, who are on the free agent market. And that
Rob Stone was alluding to someone in Europe.
His name is Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp. He's a German manager. He was the manager for the last 8 years at Liverpool, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with, even as casual fans. One of the biggest clubs in Europe. He won the Champions League over there, Premier League, all those things.
He doesn't have a coaching gig?
He decided to step down from Liverpool, from the job, because he was a little burned out from club football right now. But he has he has a I think he might vacation a little bit in the United States, and he
Yes,
had a
Rob
post
was alluding to
yeah.
Stone
He had a post on July 4th actually, and he goes, thinking about the time that Liverpool we played in Fenway Park and wishing a happy July 4th to all the Americans out there. That was on July 4th, and that started it.
A little
And
sucking up going on there.
there's a lot of rumors that if the United States wanted to pay up, and they got the money, there's no doubt about it, there's always money, that you could try to lure Jurgen Klopp to the men's national team.
What's that going to cost us? Not that it's my money.
I mean, you're talking. I mean, right now Berhalter makes $2.2 million, which is not that much for a national team head coach. To get Jurgen Klopp, you're probably going to have to pay near $10 million to get Jurgen Klopp, maybe more. But we're talking literally like a top 3 coach in all of the world.
We're printing money anyway. We don't like.
That's what I'm saying.
Doesn't matter how much money we just keep
get a
printing
sponsorship
money,
to pay for it, for all crying out loud.
Yeah, like the U.S. Mint. Yeah, I'm for it. It's about time we do something positive. Either one, the Jesse Marsch, the guy from Canada, or the guy coaching Canada who's from the United States, or Klopp, Jurgen Klopp. I just love that name. I want to say Jurgen Klopp all day long. That's great. It's fantastic. So we're 11 minutes in, and we're not talking about the race, and that's good. It's just hard. It's like, what are you going to say? Like, what are we going to say about this team? They get swept by the Rangers. Yesterday, a season high in runs given up in hits, 13 and 19. Littell gets lit up. Sean Armstrong has a 19 ERA in his last 7 appearances. I mean, it's just the offense is dreadful. What, they score 5 runs all weekend long?
They
5
got
runs?
It all on home runs. Just 2 home runs. Took all
on the
runs.
Rangers. I mean, it's just dreadful. It's a dreadful team to watch.
Well,
That's a dreadful team to watch.
It's odd because remember, going into this series, they had won 5 series in a row. Like, they had turned things around. They had gotten just over 500. And I was telling you last week, like, this stretch now against Texas, Cleveland, Kansas City, and New York going into the All-Star break was going to dictate what they do.
Right.
But Texas is the worst of the teams of that stretch. I mean, maybe you could argue the Yankees get the way they're playing right now, and they're all having a meltdown. The Yankee fans, that is. But the Rangers, based on the way they've played all year, was the team that, by all means, you cannot get swept by the Texas Rangers the way they've been playing this year. Take the World Series out of the equation. They have been very, very below average, the Rangers as a ball club. And it wasn't even close in this series. And yesterday was just, you're going to have games like that. I understand. But to get swept, it's like everything you did to get back to 500 and claw your way, then you fall right back down. And you know what they continue to do? They just continue to prove to me that 500 is their ceiling. That's just it. Exactly. That is all they are. And here's the thing. When they play like they did this past weekend, clearly it's so hard to watch. And there's like nothing you can hang your hat on. Like, what do the Rays do really well as a team?
They're poor defensively. Their bullpen has been awful lately. The starting pitching has a chance to be really good now. The whole silver lining of the weekend. Yeah, Shane Baz on Friday. 2 years from his last start, gave up 3 runs, 7 hits, 6 Ks, hit 99 velocity wise, but looked even better than that. I don't even think those numbers are fair. I went back and watched some of that, and he looked really, really good. He for being that long gone, to have that kind of command was really unusual. So there's an arm. There's a great arm. Now, will it stay healthy? It's the Rays, so it's hard to figure. Jeffrey Springs is not far from coming back. Obviously, Taj Bradley has been really, really good. You get Shane McClanahan back here. You're starting to see the makings of an incredible pitching staff again, which is where the Rays have. That's the way they've won, pitching and defense, and adequate offense. Right now, their pitching has been very uneven all year long. The offense has been dreadful. They need a core makeover like the Lightning did, quite frankly. They need a core makeover to get rid of some of the guys. And maybe it doesn't sound nice to say that in terms of Steven Stamkos. But, the Yandy Diaz's, the Randy Arozarenas, to me, these guys are, I love Yandy. We love these guys, but it's time to move on and get good young players in return and start building towards something that where you can compete with some of these big dogs. because this team is never going to get there. This core of this offense is never, ever going to get there. And they need to move on from some of these guys and go. I mean, and some of the rumors that I've seen out there, what's available for Randy Arozarena is really good. And the Rays, they're always hard asses to deal with, right? So and I know they don't want to trade Arozarena before the vote on July 18th, if we even get to that. And I'll get to all the Rays sale and vote stuff after we talk with Eric Erlinson. So we'll shelve all that and we'll get to it. But right now, the Rays they're just running in play. They're on a hamster wheel. It's uninteresting. It's hard to – even Nick Geddes is like, I can't even watch this anymore. I can't watch – you can't. I understand. I can't watch it.
Eric, and we'll bring Eric in here real quick, and he'll attest to this. This will make sense. Like when
you're
watching
all the soccer talk too.
I was going to say, when you're watching all this soccer and you could feel the energy coming through the screen, and then you turn on baseball a little bit during the dog days of July, it's a little difficult. It's just a little difficult.
Good morning, Eric. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. And Nick, you're right, especially with not so much the Copa, but the drama of the Euros. And I haven't had a chance to watch much of it, but keeping track of it. And I know a lot of stuff has gone to PKs and, England coming back with the extra time goal. And then
I watched that live. That was incredible.
Did you see any of the videos of fans leaving the stadium, the English fans leaving the stadium?
No.
You can hear they're outside the stadium, and all of a sudden you can hear the roar of the crowd, and everybody's like, we scored. We scored. England scored. And then they start running back towards the entrances to get back in. Never leave a game early unless it's a blowout. Never leave a game early. But the energy of those Euro games, it's almost as fascinating and as good as the World Cup in some ways. And some would even argue the Euros is a better tournament than the World Cup is. But yeah, it's a big difference from watching those games in the afternoon to watching July baseball for sure.
Oh my God. I mean,
wait till we get to August.
Then we have no soccer, right? At least we'll have Bucks. Hey, listen, Bucks training camp would be way more interesting than Ray's regular season. So, yeah, and even I think even now as we do our professional transition into Lightning, what the Lightning have done, I mean, this is a serious makeover. I mean, I know there's a point, it's Stamkos, but for Gensel, but there's a lot more going on here, right, Eric, and more to be done, I think. So this is an interesting time for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And, you were on last with us when we didn't really know it was actually that day it was coming to fruition that Stamkos was going. And you were basically saying this deal is done. And you're right, as usual. So I would kind of give you the floor here and just, a week later, where are you at with, as you said, Stammergeddon 3.0?
It's a facelift for sure. Right. It's some serious cosmetic surgery that Julian has done. And, you kind of look at things now and we'll get into what the team looks like on paper. Like, you got to give Julian credit here, right? Like, he knew with these two moves, specifically with the Stamkos situation, that it was not going to be popular. At all. And you see some of the comments and you can almost kind of read it in Julian's face when he has spoken and when he spoke last Monday. I mean, for 2 days, the talk normally would have been the acquisition of Jake Gensel and the extension for Victor Hedman. But for 2 days in this news cycle, it was all Steven Stamkos. When Steven Stamkos is gone, what is the team going to look like with Steven Stamkos? Victor, how do you feel about not being with Steven Stamkos? And that storyline's not going away. It's not going away. It's going to be hyped up even more and talked about even more once we get to training camp and the realization that 91 is not there starts to sink in. So, Julian, as pragmatic as he is, thought all this out. He knew how things were going to look from the outside, from us, the view at the fans and everybody else, that it wasn't going to be popular, and it's not popular. But you got to give him credit for being bold and understanding that and still doing what he feels, regardless of how we feel, regardless of how fans feel, but how he and the front office and everybody else involved in hockey operations feels that they had to do for this team.
Now, pardon me for interrupting, because I know you're going to go into what he did, and I want to get to that in a second. But I think I don't know if you feel the same way. I've seen Tony Dungy leave. I've seen John Lynch leave. I've seen Derek. I've seen them all. Been here long enough to see these icons let go, and I saw the fan vitriol. Nothing approaches what I saw here. And the Lightning Instagram post of Stamkos, which was the way they put up, I believe there were 600, and when I went to it, there were 690 some comments. About 690 were negative. And I mean, for a fan base that's very loyal to the organization, as they should be, and for a Julien Brisebois, who's I think done a great job and put this team over the top to get a Stanley Cup. And we talked about giving him the benefit of the doubt. The fans wanted none of that. Right. I was a little shocked of the level and the ferocity of the vitriol. Were you?
No, because I knew it was coming. Because I interact with a lot of fans, so I know the passion that they have when it comes to this. And I mean, look, Derek Brooks and Sapp and all those players, John Lynch. Look, when John Lynch left for Denver, I mean, that was kind of a black mark on the Bucs organization.
Oh, hell yeah.
Letting John Lynch go. Yeah. Right? I remember how that was. Like, this one is just different. It's on a different level. Like, Steven Stamkos is on the Mount Rushmore of Tampa Bay athletes, right? You let one of the Mount Rushmore of athletes go over essentially, if the reports are true, like we know that the offer was probably between 3 and 3.5 million per year on an 8-year deal. So 25 million total. Whereas I think, and this is just my thought, this is not any inside information other than my thought, that he probably would have been willing to take 5 to 5.5.
I heard from a very good source, Eric, that he would have taken 4.
Yeah.
But over a shorter period,
yeah.
I think he was also concerned about the length of the deal and the outs that were in the contract that they couldn't. So yeah. To me, this was Julien saying, "Listen, we love you, but we want to move on. Like, we really, really, really want to move on."
See, I don't even necessarily think it was we want to move on from Steven Stamkos. Like, when you listen to Julien talk Monday night after sort of some of the dust settled, the one thing that I really took out of it was how he talked about players in Stammer's situation, surefire Hall of Famers, going into their 4th contracts, didn't sign their new deals when they were eligible to. The only one he cited was Anze Kopitar in LA. Everybody else, other players did eventually sign with their teams, but it wasn't until at the end of the season. So that's a thought process and how he handled the negotiations. Mm-hmm. And then the key line at the end of what he said was, if you look at the game today, cap space is allocated to younger players. So it wasn't that they didn't think that Steven Stamkos could continue his career here. It wasn't they wanted to move on with the face of the franchise for 16 years. They had a cap number in mind that they felt he needed to slot into. That's why it was essentially, we don't want to send you out the door. We're opening it for you, but here's your offer. And this is as high as we're going to go because this is what we see it. This is the pragmatic way the front office works. This is the way we see your cap hit, how it fits in with this team. So, again, I don't think they were looking to move on from Steven Stamkos. They just had a number in mind they weren't willing to go up from in cap space to make it feasible from their mind to have him stay. Because we know he's still a productive player. He's still a dangerous weapon on the power play. There's so many things, the leadership and everything else. So I just think it was, we want you, but only at this number. And he's like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. So
and the Nashville number was outrageous.
High. And that was market value. So like we had talked about, I think a couple of times, okay, Steven Stamkos is willing to take less than market value to stay here. But how do we establish the market value? Well, now we know the market value was $8 million per year. So what was under that he would have taken? Was it 4, half of what he's making? Was it 5, 5.5? I mean, we know it's somewhere in that range, and the Lightning just weren't willing to because cap space is limited. It's a hard cap. It's not like some of the other leagues where, the NBA and the Larry Bird rule and everything like that. There's nothing like that in hockey except for the 8th year. Free agents can only sign 7. You can sign your own guys to 8. That's the one advantage for keeping your own players. So they just had a number in mind. They knew they wanted to bring in Jake Gensel, and it came in basically at the same number Carolina could offer over 8 years. The Lightning were only able to do it at 7 years. So it's the same dollar value, but it raises the cap number. So it's just a lot of those things that, again, this is where you have to give Julian credit. He knew that if this didn't work out, that he was going to take a lot of heat, and he's taking a lot of heat.
Yeah, I get that, and I applaud him for it, because as I said on Friday, or the last show we did, I'd rather have a GM that's willing to make these moves to, in this situation, than hold on to older players for, sentimental reasons or what they have done. It's not to say that Steven's not going to be productive, but and we'll transition to this. This is where the league is going. They needed to get better defensively with their forwards as a whole. This is where the league, and Gensel is 5 years younger and has a lot more productive value in these next 5 to 7 years, right? That's basically what this is about. That's
the idea. And, this is not analytics in its true sense. This is not like baseball analytics and Moneyball or anything like that, but they look at things this way through this lens sometimes. They don't make all their decisions based on it, but it is part of how they view things. And the league is getting younger. The league has been getting younger for a decade, really. I mean, back to even when I was still working for the paper, I remember asking Ken Hitchcock those questions in St. Louis. When did the league become so young? And he goes, it's that's where it is, and that's where it's going. I mean, it's a league dominated by 24, 25 years. You look at the leading
because it's opened up. It's not, you can't do the physical stuff that you can't grab and hold. Younger players are faster, skate better. So when they opened up the game, they opened it up for younger players.
And YouTube helps because players see these things and they try and make it better, right? I mean, how many players are now doing the Michigan goal, right? This is something you wouldn't have thought of, 5 years ago, and now you've got 3, 4, 5 players who are doing it in the league. So the league is getting younger. In some ways, the Lightning, bringing in Gensel, whose production will be in Stammer's neighborhood. It'll be a different kind of production, but the ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, that's the one thing, and this is going to be unfair on Jake Gensel. People are going to look at Jake as, well, you're replacing Steven Stamkos, and that's not fair to him. Life isn't fair sometimes, but that's going to be how he's viewed. That's how things are going to be looked at when we get to training camp and all these questions come back again. Because I think on paper, if you look at it as a whole, on the ice, the team might be a tick better. Gensel is a better 5-on-5 performer. He's a better 5-on-5 defender. You bring in a guy like Zemgus Girgensons, who's a hard player to play against. He's a good defensive forward. You bring back a Ryan McDonough. It brings the average age back up a little bit, but he's a good defender. So there's a lot of things on paper that make this team look better as a whole right now and improve in the areas that we know that they needed to improve on. But you need depth scoring as well. So we'll see if they can get that from guys like, can Nick Paul have another 20-goal season? Can Anthony Cirelli improve on his reaching the 20-goal mark for the first time in his career? Can Connor Sheary regain the 20-goal form that he's been throughout most of his career? Can Cam Atkinson, he's a little bit older now, Cam Atkinson, who they signed, get back to a 20-goal mark? I mean, they're all geared towards making this team better defensively and maybe adding some depth, because what's the one thing we've really said the past 2 years? Top-heavy offensively.
Kucherov heavy.
Yeah, Kucherov and point heavy and power play heavy. And look, that's the other thing. What's this power play going to look like now? Jeff Halpern, who's the architect of the power play, has his hands full. You take that weapon away, or do you still have the number one power play unit in the league, even with a Kucherov, a Hedman, and a Point? Does Point move over to that circle because he's a right-handed shot? He's so good at the bumper spot. But do you move him over because he's really the only guy with a right-hand shot that can, but he's not Steven Stamkos? So there's going to be a lot of questions when we get to training camp. The storylines are not going to go away, and they're only going to be answered on the ice, and it might not be till about Thanksgiving before we have some real answers.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said there, and all those things are true. But I can't help but think with like Andre Vasilevsky to me is like the part that's not being talked about, and how the Lightning get back to being part of that, like the Floridas, the New Yorks, the Carolinas, the teams that are winning series right now in the Eastern Conference. Like, and I look at it, I mean, he's about to turn 30 pretty soon, right? And had the back surgery and everything. Like, is there like realistic concern there, you think? Not from necessarily from the organization, but is that out there you would like to think that, hey, I don't know if Andre Vasilevsky's best days are still there. And without him playing at his best, I think he covered up a lot, even when they were winning Stanley Cups.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure. He's a human eraser for sure. Look, I think that those are legitimate questions. I think goalies, though, are different from skaters. Like Roberto Luongo is 39 years old? He's still playing at a high level, right? We used the number 1 overall pick, I think, in 03, 04.
You mean Fleury, right?
Fleury, sorry, Marc-Andre Fleury. Yeah. Who did I say?
You said Luongo.
Florida on the brain. Yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah.
He's still performing at an elite level at that age and still wants to play. And, I don't know.
Most of the great ones did play late into their 30s.
Like goalies are different. And I think certainly there's legitimate concerns to the back situation, right? I think as the season went on, though, as we talked to him a little bit, that he felt that he was kind of getting back, and he's got a full summer now to kind of get back to the training that he's used to, that he's able to do. I think physically, the surgery, we know how good modern medicine is and how well all of that works. I'm not as concerned about the back just because of how he trains and how he knows he has to kind of reel himself in a little bit now. That's one thing he said. No more weights in the gym.
Exactly.
Not doing any more squats. In that aspect. So there are lessons that are learned, and he's learned it, and we'll see. Look, he is the key. He's always going to be the key for this team, and that's why you say with the window of opportunity for this team, as long as he's healthy and if he performs at an elite level, this team has a chance.
When I look at the defensive setup now with McDonough, and as James pointed out in our chat here, he's 36 years old. Is he still going to be playing at the level that he used to play? I would think yes, in the way that he plays the game. It's not like he's an offensive guy and he's Cale Makar and running up and down the ice. So I would say yes. How do you feel about McDonough at age 36? Can he still be that lockdown guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Watched him play last year, watched a couple of Nashville's games in the playoffs, and he still plays and performs at that level. He's only got 2 more years left on his contract, so it's not a long commitment in terms of the contract. So, and look, I think that this is going to help Erik Cernak.
Yeah.
Right. He's going to be paired back with, we assume that he's going to be paired back with Cernak, and those two were so good together as the shutdown pair and a PK pair. And everything else that McDonough is the guy. I don't worry about him. I understand in NHL age 36 is up there, and you don't see players like Chris Chelios anymore playing till they're 44. You're not going to get that. I understand, but he's only 36. These guys do such a great job of keeping themselves in shape and the right nutrition and everything else. And I mean, pro sports is a 365 day a job or 65 day a year job that they have to do, and they commit themselves to it. So I don't worry as much about that. He plays lots of minutes, but he doesn't play Victor Hedman minutes. Right. Like his game is a little bit different. So I don't worry as much about McDonough at 36 playing 2 years at the level that we're used to seeing him play.
I was going to ask, by the way, I mean, rumors are rumors, and sometimes these things take on a life of their own on Twitter, as you know, but I figured I would ask because there's been all these things about Nick Perbix out there potentially being involved in trade discussions. I know Frank Vetrano's name was mentioned over in Anaheim. I don't really know how the cap really situation looks at the moment after we're all set and done here, but do you envision maybe any more moves to be done at this point?
I do. I do expect some sort of a trade at some point. I mean, they've got to figure out JJ Moser's contract, right? He's the defenseman they picked up from Utah/Arizona. He did file for arbitration. So that resolution will come in the next, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, depending on whether they actually get to a hearing or not. But we know one way or another that Moser's going to be in camp. It's just a question of what the number is going to be. So maybe Julian has to get a better idea of what his cap number is going to look like. Because I think they're around $5.5 million still left under the cap, and that does include Nick Perbix. I think a 1.1 is what his cap hit is. You know, I don't know what for Toronto's is off the top of my head, but I've certainly seen that thrown around a little bit. They could use a top 6 guy, right? If Sheary's not that guy, if Atkinson's not that guy, they could probably use a guy like for Toronto, who was a 30-goal scorer for an Anaheim team last year. So it makes some sense to me that Julian will make at least one more deal, because you got Max Crozier, right? If you believe Lilleberg and Crozier are a good pair, you know, and we'll see where Moser ends up on his ice time. But, you know, Max Crozier's showing last year, I think maybe brings this thought process about that, hey, if we could use this to get this, then it makes sense. So, I expect more moves to be done before we get to training camp, and probably before the end of the month.
All right, Double E's, thank you for jumping in, man. I really appreciate it on your vacation there in beautiful, New Brunswick?
We are in St. John, New Brunswick, and of course,
a different time zone. I didn't even know that.
My Tim
Hortons. Oh, there you go. You got to have some Tim Hortons.
Yeah, we're an hour ahead. It's weird. Like we crossed the border through Maine, and all of a sudden, bang, you lost an hour. It's like, wait, what happened? I'm just outside of Maine, and yeah. What's weirder? You ever been to Newfoundland?
I've not been there, but have some friends that spent some time there. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're a half hour ahead of Atlantic time.
Yeah.
30 minutes. It's weird.
And they all have Irish accents, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well,
Newfies don't talk like Canadians. They talk like Irish people.
We've heard some of that here, Scottish and Irish accents.
Yeah.
That we've heard in New Brunswick. So yeah, we'll be here for a
couple.
It's kind
of interesting. It's crazy. I'm like, wait, are we in Ireland or are we in Canada? I don't know. Where the hell are we? You know, I think Newfoundland actually is closer to Ireland than it is to Montreal. Quite frankly.
Probably, yeah. It's way out there. Used to be an AHL team out there.
Yeah, it's right.
Imagine traveling out there. And in fact, Syracuse at one year played because they used to be the Montreal farm team. They used to play. They played a playoff series against St. John's, and it's a lot of travel. You think, oh, it's Canada. No, it's a long way. It's a long way to go.
All right, partner. Appreciate your time as always. Safe travels, my friend.
All right, appreciate it. See you boys later.
Great, Eric Erlinson, right there. Yeah, it's I hate to say this, but I just think on paper this team is way better defensively, but at what cost offensively? But as Cooper has always said, and we haven't heard from Cooper. It's very interesting. Through all this.
Well, I was going to say
in hockey.
I was going to say, now that I've had a week to sort of chew on it and I've set my emotion aside, like, I don't see how else you could disagree. Again, emotion aside, disagree with the moves that Julien BriseBois has made for the team, because you can't get stagnant in any league, especially
the worst
NHL.
Thing you can do.
You can't get stagnant. And there's a certain amount, there's a couple teams and a few teams actually that are out there that we know of, the Pittsburghs, the Washingtons, and I think Chicago was going down that road for a little bit.
Oh God, yes. They're the best example of that. And look how long it's been. It's a long time.
Where you get you keep running it back with the same core and maybe
Taves and Kane, we'll be fine. We'll get back.
Right.
No, you're not.
And maybe those players specifically aren't the problem. Like Pittsburgh, for example, people bring up Pittsburgh. Their best producers are those big three players.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to pay them a certain rate to keep them around, and they're not at that point. It's kind of like the NBA. LeBron is still playing at such a high level, but is he at that level still where he can overcome everything else around him? No. And that's what those players sort of are at right now. So that's why they're stuck where they're at, those organizations, and they're trying to dig out of it, or they're trying to continue going and there's no future there. The Lightning just can't afford to do that. And I saw this little stat, by the way, that in the last 9 years, there hasn't been a Stanley Cup winning team that's had two forwards 32 years old or more on the roster.
Really?
So to the point about the whole young man's game, that is absolutely true.
Wow.
The whole thing about veterans, that's not what's getting it done anymore in the NHL.
And the other part about it is especially in hockey, it's such a team game. And I was going to say this, Eric, as well. You look at this Lightning team from a regular season standpoint, power play maybe not as good, blah, blah, blah. I don't think their regular season record might not be as good, but I think they're a better playoff team right now. Like the changes they made make them a much better playoff team because power play is it's de-emphasized in the postseason. There's not as many, although the numbers say it's close, but it always seems like it's not. So that gets de-emphasized. You have to be better defensively. The better you are defensively, the better you are in the playoffs. So I think Julian Breezeball definitely, he's looking at the Panthers and saying, we got to compete with them.
You have to forecheck your ass off.
Yes.
And you have
by
to
the way, the
defend,
Panthers,
and you have to keep the puck out of the net.
They kept Reinhart, but they lost Montour. They lost
they lost Montour, they lost Ekman Larson.
They lost some key pieces. Their Yanni Gourds are starting to leave. So, and that matters. That really freaking it's so hard to win the cup. You need that it takes the entire roster to do it. And you could argue that Montour made the biggest play in his goal in our series against the Lightning. It was probably the biggest goal of the series. That was the Turner for me. So, these guys matter. And when you start losing them, it matters. And what JBB is doing is trying to reconstitute this team, bring in some new life. Yeah, and it sucks, man. It sucked when Tony Dungy left and the way he left. It sucked. And win a Super Bowl next year.
Yeah.
So
and by the way, I don't know. Like, are the Lightning any closer to being a Stanley Cup team now than they were yesterday? I mean, sure, I think you could argue that, but do I think they're at that level? There's still some parts of this roster that I think we both would agree that scare you a little bit. But at the same time, now I have to see the way the style of play changes because that's what I think is being sold right now by Julian Breezeball is, hey, we've played a certain way for years. It's not working anymore by evident the fact that we can't get out of the first round. Now we're going to prioritize different things. And so that's what you're kind of hanging your hat on. And as I mentioned to Eric, which Andrei Vasilevsky are you getting?
That's maybe the biggest key of all. I mean, it just is. And if he returns to form, you got a shot. And I think he will. I really do. And we don't know. Back injuries are what they are, right? Anything can happen. But chances are he's going to be healthier this year. And chances are he's going to be able to return to that level and play at that level as many of the great ones have done, and some would argue that Brodeur and Luongo and some of these older guys have their late 30s were some of their best hockey they ever played. So,
I mean, Fleury, like he mentioned, Fleury was playing his best hockey during his mid-30s.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's still a lot of positives on this team. And it's the emotion that has to wear off. And I think at some point it will. But the best way to have that emotion wear off is to win.
It'll wear off until October 28th.
What's that? When he comes back?
Yeah. October 28th. First month of the season, not even like 10 games into the season, we're gonna rip the Band-Aid off completely.
Ugh. That's gonna be gut-wrenching.
I wonder what the price of ticket. I don't know if tickets are on sale yet, but I wonder what the get-in ticket for that game is gonna be.
I think they already have single games on sale.
Yeah. The get-in ticket for that on the resale value market is going to be pretty steep, I have to imagine.
Do you think the organization is like, oh, we got to put on a good show, but also like, oh, we're going to go through all this all over again? It'd be like breaking up again. The breakup's hard. And then you get back together and then we're going to do this again? Oh.
Yeah. It's just been like a whole week of emotion. I mean, even the next day, it's like Victor Hedman signed back, and it's like we're trying to be. Yeah, just like
you just got the best free agent. Nobody cares.
And he got the same contract of Stamkos, and you have so many people, mostly out of market. Or some Lightning fans too have said this, and I get it. You're emotional. That are like, oh, they gave the same contract to Hedman, but they wouldn't give it to Stamkos, and it's like, man, they're in different leagues right now, in regards to how important they are to the team and where they sit in, like, if you were to rank their position around the league. Like Victor Hedman, 4 years, $8 million. I don't think any of us are batting an eye at. We would have batted an eye and then some if Stamkos got that contract from the Lightning.
Well, forwards and defensemen are different. It's just.
But I'm saying is Victor Hedman is getting Norris votes still.
Right, exactly.
That's my point. Like, he's just different caliber even at his age.
Yeah. And and defensively, Stamkos is just not good.
Yeah, and that sucks to say. It sucks to say, but we have to now. At some point, the emotional cap has to be lifted, and you got to look at it. Okay, did the Lightning get better?
We shall see, and we may not even be able to judge that until the playoffs. Like I said, because I think you can argue that for a regular season team, the changes may not be as apparent, but from a playoff standpoint, I think definitely this team should look better in the playoffs, but that's a long way away. All right, we got to take a break here, and thank our great sponsors, the Jeeves Law Group. First hour brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. They are local, they are ferocious, and they get results, and they're trusted. If you have any legal issues whatsoever, the Jeeves Law Group can take care of you, personal injury and personal attention. Don't go with one of these out-of-town, big-time attorney firms that just you won't even get callbacks. It's hard. With the Jeeves Law Group, they know the local landscape, they know what they're doing, and they will get great results for you. JeevesLawGroup.com. That's the best way to get a hold of them. Go to the website, either email them or call them. Tell them JP sent you. And our great folks at Hydrate Heroes, go to tryhydrateheroes.com to get the best hydration drink on the market. 5 calories, all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. Tryhydrateheroes.com will get you the free 3-pack. So go to tryhydrateheroes.com. Back in 3. Summer is here, and it's the perfect time to shine with the exquisite June birthstones, Pearl, Alexandrite, and Moonstone at the Golden Diamond Source. Each gemstone carries its own unique significance and style, making them perfect for any summer occasion. Did you know the 30th anniversary milestone is Pearl, the traditional stone for this special occasion? And right now, you can enjoy 5 years of interest-free financing. That means you can own a stunning $5,000 ring and pay only $83 a month with 0 interest for 5 years. That's a great deal. And shop online and get 15% off the June birthstones. And we love our partners, local businesses that have been here for 40 years. That's right, the Golden Diamond Source has been here for 40 years. Julie and Steve Weintraub have done so much in our community. We thank them, and we shop there. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Happy summer. As we head into summer and hurricane season, you must make sure that your home is fully insured. Over 40% of people in Florida are not fully insured because property rates have gone up lately. Your home is worth more, so it needs to be insured. Call the great folks at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799 to make sure you're fully insured. And also, you might just save some money. There are new companies coming into the state all the time. In fact, we just shopped our homeowners insurance, and I'm telling you, folks, we saved over $550 because Charity, the great customer service at Italiano Insurance, did all the work and found us a better company and a cheaper company. She'll do the same for you. 813-877-7799. Do something about these high rates. Shop them around. Could save you lots of money. It's Italiano Insurance, been doing business here locally for over 60 years. 813-877-7799. Tell them JP sent you.
Hey, Tampa Bay sports fans. This is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the U.S. Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right. That's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Geddes Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or a golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to GettysGordonGroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
JP here for tryhydrateheroes.com. That's our new website where you can get a free 3-pack of the great Hydrate Heroes Electrolyte Hydration Drink. all for free. Just go to tryhydrateheroes.com. We'll send you a 3-pack. While you're there, go ahead and buy the 30-pack for just $29.99. Special going on, less than $1 a serving for all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. Folks, a lot of these hydration drinks have tons of sugar, tons of calories. Hydrate Heroes, just 5 calories, and they have all the electrolytes in there, plus other stuff that's going to benefit you. A mushroom blend that will help with inflammation. So much other good stuff in there. None of the bad stuff. It's Hydrate Heroes. Go to tryhydrateheroes.com and get your free 3-pack. The new Tropical Punch flavor is out, and it is fantastic. They'll send you some. Just go to tryhydrateheroes.com. Get all the information there. Pick up a 30-pack as well. Tryhydrateheroes.com. All the good stuff, none of the bad stuff.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. We just saved over $500 on our property insurance, homeowners insurance. You know that's going up all over the place, right? But there are some new companies coming in, Italiano, vetting those companies so they know they're good companies, not fly-by-night companies, and they're offering some lower rates. So, I don't know of anybody that's saved on their homeowners insurance except us, and we didn't do any of the work. Charity did all the work at Italiano. So give her a call, or the great customer services folks. Anybody can help you. 813-877-7799, and let them shop your homeowners insurance and your business insurance around as well. That can fluctuate tremendously. Everything's gone up, right? So you want to get the best prices you can possibly get for the same service. So go to Italiano and let them shop that for you. 813-877-7799. All right. So I want to get into a little something happened over the break for me. It's very interesting. And I want to go at this in a very, very lighthearted way, because I, have been a journalist for many years of my life. Okay. We are kind of hybrid journalists now as we go into sports talk radio. We talk about things, we report things, what have you. So I am not reporting this. I'm just trying to give you guys a feel, because I talk to a lot of people. And most every time you talk to a lot of people that are involved with the stadium deal or potentially buying the Rays, everybody says the same thing. We really can't say a whole lot. And it's very secretive. The Rays make it very important that anybody they deal with sign non-disclosure agreements, all of that stuff. In fact, I've been told by some sources that there are some non-disclosure agreements in place on a lot of these for a lot of the folks that are trying to buy the Rays. Now, we know that there have been at least 2 offers on the table. I've heard numbers like 1.8 million for the Dex group that came forward, 1.8 billion, sorry. And as high as $2.3 billion for the Rays. Both very much believable numbers for what is at stake here. I mean, this is a team, you can listen to it all you want about what a low revenue team this is. Anybody who's interested in buying this team, the first thing they look at is the market size and the potential for what could be here. And anybody that's buying this team would immediately look at the numbers and go, okay, first of all, where they're located, you're only going to get so much revenue out of where they're located. And if you build a stadium where they are now, you're not everybody has acknowledged this. Their maximum revenues, including Stu Sternberg, including Major League Baseball, their maximum revenues would be in Hillsborough County. But obviously that deal has been very hard to come by. A lot of that has to be at the feet of Stu Sternberg, some of it at the feet of the Hillsborough officials, admittedly. But there's no denying that if someone can come up with a good private part of the deal, yes, there's not as much public money available. But the public money that is going to be spent in this deal in St. Petersburg is ridiculous. There's a lot of the national stadium pundits that are now weighing in, and they look at this deal in St. Petersburg and their eyes bug out. Like, this is unlike anything we've ever seen before. I mean, we've been telling you this for quite some time. It's the amount of public money that's involved in this stadium and redevelopment is off the charts. It's a record. No one has ever seen numbers like this. And it's very, very cumbersome. And there's a lot to it. And still what we've seen in the Times has been reported that there's over 500 pages in this deal, and it still has not been delivered to the council members in a final form. Now we get news that they're changing it to add a grocery store by 2040 or 35, a daycare that has to be done by 2040. I mean, some of this stuff is ridiculous. And in terms of urban planning, people are weighing in. They're now looking at this to go, like, you're building affordable housing next to the stadium in that location. That makes zero sense. Like, it makes zero urban planning sense, but it sounds good politically. So they put it in the deal. An African-American museum for $50 million where there has to be matching funds raised. Nobody talks about that. People are looking at this and going, what? Why would they, why is this even part of the deal? They're looking at the real estate numbers and going, they're getting it for 50 million. What? How is this even possible? So many people believe this is a done deal. And over the past few days, I ran into someone, talked to a lot of people, and I'm not going to sit here and report this as this has definitely happened, but this is what's going on behind the scenes. There is a very, very credible push for a sale of this team. And I've been told that one of the big hangups in this is the Bally's Sports bankruptcy. And how does that work in? Well, Stu Sternberg was supposed to get huge payments from Bally's up front. And in some ways, some of that has already been delivered, but not all of it. And when they filed for bankruptcy, one of the reasons Bally's filed for bankruptcy is it's because they couldn't make the payments to Stu Sternberg and other creditors. And once you file for bankruptcy, you don't have to pay those folks off until it gets done through the courts. Now, there's a huge date coming up, July 29th. And I was reading some information on this Bally's deal, and the judge basically admonished both sides and said, listen, you guys, the deal with Comcast is what's really holding up this whole, I know you've heard Amazon's involved. I'm trying to keep this as simple as I can because it's so much in the weeds. Amazon put in $150 million to bail out Diamond Sports, which is what this Bally's thing is about. So in a nutshell, this should come to a head in the next couple of weeks because the judges admonished both sides in this bankruptcy deal. Like, you guys better come to an agreement because you may not like what I will make the final decisions on this. And you may not like what happens either side. So he's basically saying, I'm going to crush one of you. So you better meet in the middle. And it seems like the person, and you read the tea leaves and some of the legal experts, says that they're leaning towards protecting Bally's here. So the bottom line is this is coming to a head. And when this Bally thing comes to a head, this could open the door for the sale of the team. Now, how does that work in the votes that's going forward? Well, this is what's interesting about this deal is so much of this deal is one-sided towards the Rays. So is it a possibility that they could get the real estate part of this deal done, which is what they're working on? You haven't heard a lot about the stadium side of this. Get that part of the deal done, the team is sold, and then the stadium never gets built there? Absolutely. It's a possibility. Absolutely, that's a possibility. And, there's so much in these contracts that has to be weeded out and looked at. And that has to be something that the city of St. Petersburg looks at very clearly. And again, so many of these intricacies, as we got, from the folks at nohomerun.com, they laid out, have said, man, this thing needs to be reworked. There's no protections in here for the city. And and there's no real revenue streams for the city and the county. So a lot of people think this is a done deal. The people that I've talked to recently said, no, it's not a done deal. The stadium part is not a done deal. The redevelopment part is and it's a 5-3 vote. Only one vote really needs to flip in this process as they move forward. So everybody said, oh, I thought this was a done deal. This is a done deal. No, not until these votes are taken. And right now, there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that are going to affect whether this vote goes through. And the bottom line is, the more they look at it, the less likely it's appealing. And you can read all these things that are in the Times, and with all due respect, a lot of it is very one-sided. And you can read a lot of the other stuff that is more telling, I think, and more honest on the numbers, as we keep reading in the Times that it's 270 million. That's without interest. That's without interest. All these numbers you see are without interest, and they're financing. So the interest payments, when you talk about what it's going to cost for the final deal, should be included in this. And you're looking at 1.6 to 2.4 billion dollars public cost, and that's a lot, especially for a project that no one can sit here and say is going to be a slam dunk success. In fact, you could argue with actual facts that it's not going to change the dynamics of attendance at all. So, again, I'm not reporting that their sale is imminent. I'm not reporting that the deal's not going to be done. I'm just telling you there's a lot of things that are going on and happening behind the scenes. So if you think this is a slam dunk done deal, it is not. It may be ratified, but I think there's a lot more chance that there'll be, until shovels go, as Nick says, until shovels go in the ground, I don't believe any of it. And that's where I'm at. And I will say this, and one other little nugget. If by chance this does not happen, and I know everybody screams, well, they'll be out of here in 4 years. Where are they going to go? The next two teams are going to be expansion teams with $2 billion price tags. $2 billion is going to be the expansion number. And trust me, baseball wants to get to that. So relocation fees are typically $1 billion. And in the two cities that are being talked about, Nashville, I think, is probably the most prominent, and Portland, maybe the next most prominent. I don't even know where that goes. Las Vegas, everybody said that was a done deal. Guess what, folks? It's not. And it's not even close. And now that's bogged down in the legislature with legal challenges. So it's just not that easy to just move a team and build a stadium that's going to cost you $1.5 billion and then pay a $2 billion expansion fee on top of that. In these economic times, you guys act like, well, if they don't get this lease, then they're just leaving. Where are they going? Who's spending that much money? Who's got that wants to buy a baseball team? It's not that easy. So I would say, and relocation to the Tampa side will not take a $1 billion relocation fee. So that's a good piece of incentive for anyone who's buying this team. So I think a sale is very likely. And what the new owners want to do with it, where they want to build, I can tell you this, it's not in St. Petersburg. 100%, because not that that's a bad place, but it's not a good place for a baseball stadium.
Well, we've long established that, but if it happens, it happens, and the vote goes through and we move on from this, it'll be a great day for this community, because this topic has been, this dates back to me being 5 years old, or even before that. Literally my birth. This dates back to my literal birth of how long this discussion has been going on. We know it's exhausting for so many. And my priority is always going to be about what happens on the field at the end of the day. And thankfully, for the last 15 years, the on-the-field product has been, for the most part of that, really, really strong. Hard to complain with much. But at the same time, for the future of the team, what I want, the only assurance I want is if this thing goes up in St. Pete eventually, and we're playing baseball in it in 2028, right? Whatever. Okay. Clearly the revenues are going to be to the point where you tell me that you can now field a roster that costs money and everything, and you can pay players and stuff like that. You can compete with the other. I'm not saying you got to compete with the Yankees or Dodgers. Nobody's asking for that, but compete to at least a league average level. I think is what we're asking for. And
that's not going to happen.
And that's all I'm, as a fan at this point, focused on, because the whole attendance thing, would I love to go to a stadium that's packed? Of course. I think we all would. But I don't know if this whole thing is much about attendance. I think the fact that they're building it for 26,000 people or whatever it is,
30,000 maybe,
is telling you that they know that the attendance, they're not aiming to get 40K in the building or something crazy like that.
Right.
So attendance will be what it will be. I'm focused on, okay, if you have this stadium and you have all this revenue around it and whatnot, then no excuses. Let's spend money on really good ball players and try to remain competitive from a different way than you've been doing it to this point. That's where my focus lies now.
Yep. I agree with you. And everybody wants a deal, but a bad deal is worse than no deal. A bad deal that handcuffs you more down the line, like has happened in Miami, that's worse. That's worse. You still have an opportunity to turn this thing around.
Well, in Miami, though, like besides the fact that the Miami location is terrible, what was it, like the taxpayer thing, right?
Yeah,
and the fact that
financing was ridiculous in the $2 billion range, and this was a stadium that was built 10, 15 years ago.
And it doesn't seem like, I mean, I've only been there once, and it was probably 8 years ago at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like there's anything around it, really.
No, that's why the location is off. It built it right in the middle of the little event.
Right. It's not one of these. It's not one of these entertainment districts like you see with Texas and Atlanta, and like the Rays are trying to do, where you can make money off of everything.
And had they built a Battery-style ballpark in Fort Lauderdale in the middle of the market and not down in South Miami, they would be enjoying the same success. By the way, I went to Truist Park on July 4th.
Saw that.
Oh, what a stadium. What a stadium. What an area. It's the Battery. I mean, we hung out in the Battery, the fireworks, the stadium itself, the Chop House. We walked around the whole stadium, the premium seating. I mean, you talk about the loge areas, like in the stadium, walking around, like where all the food and bevies are. I mean, it's 3 times what Tropicana Field is. I mean, it's just, it doesn't even feel crowded. The place was packed, 42,000 people. It doesn't even feel crowded. I mean, parking was easy. We parked and walked, a quarter mile to the stadium. And that was after the game started in a sellout. I mean, it was, and the food offerings, the drink offerings, the sight lines, the Battery itself, everything around it, the hotels, the condos, everything. There's a theater. There's Fox Theater right there. I mean, it's just amazing the way that place is transformed. And they did it right. And now the Braves have gone from $120 million payroll to a $260 million payroll because they're making so much money off the deal. That is the exact template that you want. And you can't, and they moved it to where their fans are. You build it in the wrong location, and you can't be as good on the field. This is what I'm trying to tell everybody. It's not just about, let's just get it done. Well, then you're in purgatory for another 30 years, like the Marlins are. So
I don't know if the Marlins locate. To me, that is like, again, from what I saw when I was there, that seems like,
at least in St. Pete, they're going to be able to put stuff around it.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
what are they putting around it?
We're arguing
put affordable housing in a museum around it.
Well, I think
that's not drawing in any fans. In fact, I can guarantee you the people in affordable housing ain't going to be buying tickets. That's the dumbest thing ever. It's a great thought, and it sounds good politically, but it's the dumbest thing ever.
I would think there's more to it between retail and restaurants and shop. I mean, there's going to be more like that around it. I think we're just arguing that it's like you're just building it in the same spot. But the idea, the general focus of what they're trying to do is correct. They're just doing it in the wrong area, if that makes sense. Whereas I'm saying Miami is just a complete failure all around because there's nothing around it. It's in an area where you couldn't put anything around it. It's far away from your fan base it's the whole thing is messed up in Miami. I don't even think like that situation, like I don't think this is near the level of what Miami did, is what I'm saying.
A couple of thoughts here from our folks commenting. James says, JP, why would anyone want to buy the team if the stadium goes to St. Pete? Maybe this is MLB's way of getting Stu out. Could be. If the Rays sell stadium deal in St. Pete is DOA. Yes. Rick says Stu will probably sell after the stadium deal gets defeated. The sooner the better, as long as St. Pete gets a new grocery store and daycare and skate park. Respect your history. I know it's like, hey, we're going to get the grocer and the daycare, so the deal's good now. My. Nick, if you want Rays to be better, then you have to hope the stadium is in Hillsborough County. And Stu is gone. No, I agree. Miami, Thomas Casper says Miami has to do something with the Orange Bowl site, Miami River and Little Havana neighborhood. Yeah, they hoped that would do it, but it never did because the neighborhood is the neighborhood. You're not going to bulldoze all those houses. Affordable housing next to the stadium. Will there be welfare tickets, EBT concessions? It just doesn't make any sense. Well, there is something in the deal to provide tickets for affordable housing or underprivileged folks, but who's buying? Are those tickets being given or are they being purchased by the city? That should be known. And I'll just close with this, and this is from the folks at No Home Run. They got Bill Foster, former St. Pete mayor, Bill Foster, who has finally come out and had an opinion on this. The other mayors don't want to because they don't want to get messed up in the politics or undercut Mayor Welch. I get that. But somebody spoke up, and he said, I'm not saying that a deal with Rays baseball and Heinz cannot be reached, but something real and tangible needs to come back to the St. Pete citizens footing the bill. This deal, as it stands, and I quote, is horrible and repugnant, and St. Pete residents need to be informed. That's pretty stark. So, all right, we'll take a break. We'll come back and let's talk some Bucks. You want to talk some Bucks?
Buccaneer football?
Yes, Buccaneer football. Camp is what? 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away, training camp starts. So we are going to begin our position-by-position preview with a look at the safety position. Did you see the pictures of Jordan Whitehead in his new jersey? Oh,
looks pretty familiar.
Is that AI? So, some of that looked enhanced. My Lord. So we'll talk about the safety position. We're brought to you by the great folks at Extravaganza Productions. If you have a meeting coming up, a charity event, a big birthday, anything that might need some production value, Extravaganza Productions is the best in the business. They are affordable, and they get things done on budget and on time with great results. I've worked with them many, many times, big events, small events, and they are the best in the business. So call the good folks over there, Dolly Brown, Paul Thomason at Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. Just go to extravaganzaproductions.com, reach them through the website, and get a free creative session if you mention that they support this wonderful show. Extravaganzaproductions.com. Back in 3 with some Bucks talk. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves, who lives right here and has long been a highly respected member of our community. He's a proud sponsor of the Tampa Riverwalk. Jeeves Law Group is also a proud sponsor of our Grand Central District in St. Pete and has neighborhood events throughout the year. He has an office on Central Avenue in St. Pete and one on South Howard in Tampa. You can't get more local than that. So when you need an attorney, you're going to hire some huge firm that advertises all over the state or the one that supports your favorite sports show. It's the Jeeves Law Group. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. For personal injury and personal attention, call us for a free case evaluation. That's 8889-JEEVES. That's 8889-JEEVES.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
JP here to ask the question, are you planning an event, meeting, or conference? If so, you'll want to call the designers and production professionals at Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. With over 35 years of experience in the events industry, designing and producing every type of small to large event, they can provide a huge resource for design ideas, audio, visual, sound, lighting, decor, and entertainment to turn your event into an incredible experience for the entire audience. Folks, I've worked up close and personal with this group at many national events and Tampa events, and they have unique capabilities that help you save time and money in the planning and execution of your next event. Don't delay. Call these pros today at 813-621-4700 or check out their website at extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you, and they'll provide a free initial consultation for your event. Extravaganza Productions, the best of the business.
Take your business or nonprofit to the next level with the power of video. Red House Streaming offers complete studio production services at our state-of-the-art facilities. Put our experience and expertise to work for you. From initial concept to final delivery, we'll handle it all and bring your vision to life. As your all-in-one production partner, we offer comprehensive marketing packages that not only showcase your brand, but amplify your reach. Contact Red House Streaming today.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, presented by Hydrate Heroes. All the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. NFL players, Olympic athletes choose Hydrate Heroes because it's only 5 calories, and it's got all the good stuff, the amla fruit, the electrolytes, a mushroom blend that helps with inflammation. My knees have never felt better since being hydrated with Hydrate Heroes. Did not expect that as a side effect, but that is a side effect. Makes you just feel better, more hydrated. If you're hydrated, everything works better, folks. So go to hydrateheroes.com, get a 30-pack for just $29.99, less than $1 a serving. Great taste, only 5 calories, and all the benefits of a hydration drink. So get off all the sugary drinks and get with the good stuff. Hydrate Heroes. All right, you want to talk some football?
Let's do it. Let's do it, because like you said, we're 2 weeks away. I can't even believe it.
Yeah. And there's going to be, two practices for the general public to come see the Buccaneers. I know that's kind of been a sore spot, but like I said, become a member of the crew if you're truly a Bucs fan. And I know a lot of people are hurting, and it's tough to go buy those things.
I was going to say, Mr. Economy over there.
Make your choices, though. All right. Cut out 2 of your McDonald's trips that cost you $60 for the family now. Isn't that crazy?
Are you calling me out right now?
I might be. Well, you don't have.
I hate spending $60 at McDonald's now.
How much you spend between the two of you? If you go and if you get it delivered, like I know
I'm not that person that gets McDonald's delivered. Yeah. Okay, right? How down bad can you be if you're getting McDonald's delivered?
Yeah, I can tell you what it costs for like a Happy Meal, a couple of Happy Meals, and a shake. It's like to get it. It's like $45.
If we both get two meals. If we both get 2 meals, and I don't know, and this is the thing with McDonald's, by the way, the prices are different based on where you live, and it's the most annoying thing. So the McDonald's near me is over in Fishhawk, and I'm telling you that everything is $2 more, at least, than other McDonald's. So when we both go and get meals, it's like $20 at least at McDonald's. So yeah, if you do the math there, a family of 5, you're probably pushing $50 at least.
That's crazy.
McDonald's.
That's crazy. So 2 of those is like, so that's $100. You know, if there's 2, if you got kids, it's so if you make choices, you could become a member of the crew. So I'm just saying. But you get 2 visits if you're not a member of the crew. But anyway, I get that. I get why the Bucs do that. I think they're trying to be fair to everybody, but it's tough. It's tough. You want to reward your season ticket holders, right? You want to do that. So you have to make some tough choices, and I think that's where they're at. Yeah. But anyway, training camp, we're going to be there every day, so we'll be giving you great coverage of the training camp. We're still working to finalize where we're going to be, but I'm going to be there almost every practice starting at 8:30 in the morning, and then I'll zip on over to wherever we're broadcasting, and I will give you all the highlights of what's going on. So we'll have it fully covered for you. We're going to have video. We're going to have interviews, all that stuff. So keep it here for your best Bucs coverage. There's a lot of Bucs. I'm not going to claim that. We'll have really good Bucs coverage. All right. We won't make the Pewter Report does all these other guys, they do really good jobs. But we're going to be there for you as well. This will be my 26th or 27th Bucs training camp. So that's pretty good, right? That's some experience.
Age yourself when you talk about your history.
I know. But I'm still young and vibrant, sort of. All right, so let's get down to business here. Of course, when you talk about the safety position, you know, you start with Antoine Winfield Jr., the highest paid defensive back in the league history. So, and very deserving, by the way. His numbers last year were off the freaking charts. And I think they could be even better this year because of the supporting cast around him. And I think Antoine went in almost, we look back now and moving him down into the box as a nickel cornerback, like that was a bad idea. It was a really bad idea.
2022 was full of bad ideas all around us, wasn't it? 2022, we could just rip that one up and throw it away.
Really was. Like there was some, there's a lot of bad decisions that were made, but we're moving on. We're moving on to the 24 edition. By the way, it's interesting. From a betting standpoint, I think the Bucs started at 6.5, the over-under in Vegas, 6.5 wins. Then it went to 7.5. Then it went to 8.5. When I was at the sports book, it was in New Orleans. 8.5 was where it was at. And I was like, when did it get to 8.5? And now I think it's back down to 7.5 at most of the books. So very, very interesting fluctuations as the experts look at the Bucs over-under totals. Excellent. But when you look at some of the additions that they made, I think this is what made them go to 8.5. And I think Jordan Whitehead, who will be the other starting safety, is part of it. I went back and looked at some of his numbers when he was drafted here, and the turnovers are what really stands out. And it's something that obviously that the Bucs really want to get back to, is getting more turnovers. And he's got a great nose for the football. When he was with the Bucs, let's see, 1, 2, 3, so 4. So he had 5 interceptions in 2 seasons and 6 interceptions with the Jets. So he's got 11 interceptions total in his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of starting. For a safety, that's pretty damn good. Forced fumbles, 2. So he's a guy that is around the ball. And even had a couple of sacks his 2020 year with the Buccaneers. So it's the takeaways I think that you love. And with both of those guys, Antoine Winfield and tackles as well, by the way, when he was with the Buccaneers in his 4 starting seasons, 76, 69, 74, 73, with the Jets, 89 and 97 tackles. So, and that's a stat that I don't think gets enough. We always go to the sacks and the interceptions and everything else, but you know what? I like tackles. I like guys that come up and make freaking plays. It's one of the things that I think made Rondé Barber a Hall of Famer. His ridiculous number of tackles that he made. Over 1,250 officially, almost 1,600 unofficially by the coaches tape. Mm-hmm. And so that is something I think that people don't look enough at.
Well, it's funny you bring up tackles, because that's what I was going to talk about with Jordan Whitehead and what you're saying is true, but I do want to warn, and again, Pro Football Focus charts all these things, and I don't think this is necessarily this is part of their grades. This is just objectively looking at the tape and seeing it. He was credited last year with 20 missed tackles, Jordan Whitehead was, which I believe was that was the most during his career. And just to put perspective to that, the 2020 season when he was with the Bucs, he only had 11.
Yeah.
He had 20 last year. So his tackling grade was actually, according to PFF, the lowest it was last year. But again, it seems like that was a little bit of an outlier based on the rest of his career.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And there can be a lot of different things that go into that. If you're one-on-one in open space, obviously it's much harder to make tackles.
Yeah, there's context to all that.
Yeah, you're going to miss more tackles. The fact that he's around the ball that much, with 97 total tackles and 89 total tackles, that's important to me. And yeah, you got to clean up the missed tackles. There's no question about that. But he's around the ball, 9 passes defense last year as well. So there's a lot of numbers that suggest he's around the ball a lot, and I like that. So I think that tandem right there of Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield Jr. are about as good as it gets. I think it's certainly the best in the division by far, but I would say probably top 5 in the league. And I think it's going to be a big part of their success. Now they also got Tyke Smith from Georgia, who I think by all accounts, you want to talk about a guy around the ball. Yeah, he's around the ball a lot. And they got Kayvon Merriweather, who's got a little bit of experience as well. Christian Izien is a nickelback that can also play some safety. So I think, and I think he's a better player than people, give him credit for. I love the way he tackles in the open field. And just, we'll do the corners tomorrow, but I would throw him in the mix there as well, because there's so many hybrids defenses that the Bucs play in the Todd Bowles. I mean, it's almost a positionless defense.
Right.
So when we go by position, there'll be some crossover. So I think that's the key here, because Tyke Smith, I think, is going to he's going to get some significant amount of snaps for a rookie. And is that going to be at a safety position, nickelback? I don't know, but I think he's going to be on the field, and I think he's going to contribute. So I'm going to throw him in this group of playmakers. And I think you now have 3 playmakers that at the safety positions that are really chess pieces for Todd Bowles. And I think it's a huge strength of this team.
Well, hopefully just guys that are getting their hands on footballs, because we know that that was a sore spot last year for the Bucs, is they just could not get enough turnovers, and they couldn't get enough hands on footballs. When they did, they dropped them, right? Looking at you, Jamel Dean.
Oh my
Detroit.
God.
We'll get to you later when you do cornerbacks. But no, Tyke Smith, I think the beauty, it's like, I don't know what he is. Like, I looked at his snap alignment, at least last year, 434 snaps in the slot. So like, clearly that's where Georgia had him best suited for, but he had 62 snaps on the line, for crying out loud. He's got 29 at corner, 87 in the box, and 18 playing deep safety. Like, he plays all over, and he's a nice chess piece. And I think that was what Todd Bowles was going for when he was figuring out how he wanted to construct this defense going forward, which I think has a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah,
is he's looking
in the passing game.
Yeah, I think he's just looking for guys he can move around all over the place and aren't exactly just beholden to, hey, this is your spot and you're going to just stay here and not move. I think he wants guys that have that versatility so he can give, offenses different looks and all those things. And maybe just the madness of it all will confuse offenses, and maybe you'll generate more turnovers that way. So I think the thought process of what they've done here has been great. Jordan Whitehead, for all the praise we give him, it sounds like we're talking about like one of the best safeties in the NFL. He's not that, but I'll tell you what, for a second safety on your team, when you already have the number one guy in Antoine Winfield Jr., I think you'll be hard-pressed to find many better than Jordan Whitehead. He just fits that role so perfect. And it's like, is Jordan Whitehead going to lose you football games? Is the way I look at it. Like, you don't really want him to lose you football game. And last year, I bring that up because Ryan Neal played a big role in losing you football games.
It's a great point.
That's how I'm looking at it. He is replacing Ryan Neal. And
huge upgrade.
Yeah, that's what makes it a substantial upgrade. Obviously, they didn't break the bank for him. Familiarity, guy that everybody in that locker room loves, Jason loves. There's a lot of trust there. So it's really why it was like, outside of re-signing everybody that they did, bringing Jordan Whitehead was probably the savviest move, I think, that Jason made all offseason. Yeah,
and it didn't cost you a whole hell of a lot to get an experienced guy back there, which is important. Experience at safety matters. So I love that. So, and we'll give you just a little bit of a preview, because I love when you talk about upgrades, right? So, you look at across the entire depth chart. Are they better at the second safety position? Oh, Lord, yes. Lord, yes, they are so much better. So you look at that. You look at nickelback. But Christian Izien was the number one guy. Does Tyke Smith move into that role this year? Or Bryce Hall, who I think is another chess piece that he gives. Whatever it is, the entire secondary is tremendously upgraded. Yes, you lose Carlton Davis, but you still have to be. Is Zion McCollum going to be better than Carlton Davis? Yes, I believe he is. I believe he's going to be better. So as a whole, I think it's a huge go. You talk about Jamel Dean, Jordan Whitehead, Winfield Jr., Zion McCollum, Izien, Bryce Hall, Tavier Thomas as well, Tyke Smith. You bring all these guys into it. Is that a better group than Ryan Neal? Who else was there? Carlton Davis. Who am I missing from last year?
Delaney's of the world and all those guys.
Yeah, it total upgrade in the defensive backfield. I think that's fair to say, right?
Oh, we picked on him so much last year, and it seems so I hate to keep doing it, but no, Ryan Neal, I can't stress enough how much he dragged down the whole operation last year.
Right.
Like just that subtraction alone and adding in Jordan Whitehead and Tyke Smith, and we'll see what you get out of Bryce Hall and Tavier Thomas and some of those guys. But just that simple of, hey, Ryan Neal out, Jordan Whitehead in, you got way better. You got way better.
Way better. And just look on the defensive. Just, I know we're doing safety today, but all the way across the Kalijah Cansey, year 2, going to be so much better. So much better. Vita Vea, slim down, going to be better. You still have Logan Hall listed as a starter. That might be Chris Braswell's job. And if it is, upgrade.
Well, that's cool. The role that Logan Hall plays is sort of Will Golston. And
right.
All respect to Will Golston, but if we get to week 1 and Will Golston is starting, that tells me all I need to know about Logan Hall.
Yeah, well, and I know Braswell's listed behind JTS. So he may just slot right into JTS's spot right there. I don't know. Anthony Nelson is listed as the third teamer there. I think there's a lot to be said about Marquise Watts, Anthony Nelson, Jose Ramirez. There's a lot going on there as far as all those different spots. And I'm just going to say, I feel like there's going to be a huge upgrade in the entirety of it.
I tell you what, I don't know if I'm being biased here with this. I really don't think I am. I'm looking at this objectively. The more we get into like the Bucks and everything, and we start to get close to training camp, and you look at the roster, how they're constructed, and some of the young talent that's all over the field here, defensively and offensively. I can't for the life of me figure out how there are people, very credible people, by the way, that I respect in this business who are so down on the Bucks. I can't figure it out for me. And
same thing last year, though. It was maybe same thing last year.
Maybe it's back to the whole thing of, it's just little old Tampa. Like maybe we're just back to that again. And
they want something. Here it is, because consistency in this league is hard. And people look at the fact, the Bucks have won, Division 3 years in a row. They're not going to do it 4 years in a row. Well, who's better? Who's better?
They did it. I just don't see how. Like I saw some rankings the other day, and it was like Atlanta was in the top 10, and the Bucks were at 23. And I'm blown away at that kind of roster ranking. And like I look at this team, I'm like, we're expecting guys who were already really good last year as young players. Just look at it from a defensive standpoint. Kalijah Cansey, Yaya Diaby,
gonna be better
to be much even better. And to me, the two guys who drag down this defense the most are out of the equation.
Exactly.
Evan White's gone. Ryan Neal's gone. Like those two dragged it down tremendously, and they replaced it with guys who are football players.
KJ Britt. I was going to say, as we go through the roster, KJ Britt is a huge upgrade on Devin White. Sorry.
Right.
It's true. It's true.
Right. And what else? I mean, we have our issues with JTS, and can Jamel Dean be a number 1 corner? Yeah, I'm not saying it's all perfect. Not saying that.
Hell no.
But I'm just saying that I don't get this whole looking at the roster and going, there's holes all over the place. I just don't see that.
I don't either. And as we go through position by position, I think you'll see that. So that's a look at the safeties. We'll do the corners tomorrow, a little bit more in depth, and we'll go through the defense first and then the offense next week.
In fact, it's a fascinating discussion. I don't really want to have the discussion, but I'll just put it out there because people have been having it. I've heard just on the topic of us, how high we are in the Bucks right now. And we've talked sort of about the state of the Lightning today and the Rays to an extent. Like, you think it's fair to say, would you agree that of all the 3 teams in the Tampa Bay area, the Bucks seemed like they're the closest to getting back to a championship?
Well, they were 7-8 points away from going on to the NFC Championship game. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I just think that when you look at the roster, they've improved dramatically in so many positions. And that just makes you're doing the math. If you're here and you add things that are better, if you're at 9 wins, 10 wins with the playoffs, and you've improved your team, and I think they have, I think that's empirically you can look at this and say they've improved their team in all these positions. Why shouldn't they be better? Is the schedule harder? Schedule was not easy last year. They had a first place schedule last year. And I look at the quarterbacks that they're going to face this year. A lot of young ones, a lot of people in different places. So Continuity is king. Kirk Cousins is not going to come into Atlanta in week 1, make them a top 5 offense. It's going to take some time. So, and luckily, I think the Bucks played the Falcons twice in the first, 6 games? If I'm not mistaken. Yes, first 7 games as I take my handy-dandy schedule here. Yeah, they got him in week 5 and then week 8. So the first 8 weeks. So, by week 8, will they be a little bit more continuity with Cousins? Yeah. Week 5, it's going to be a work in progress, just like Baker Mayfield was last year.
And I even think about like the NFC as a whole. Like, I think we all would agree the AFC seems like it's more put together. Maybe is that yes. I was going to say stacked, but like
much better quarterbacks.
I think the NFC has had the influx of like the young guys now. I have like Caleb Williams went to Chicago, Jaden Daniels to Washington. Like the NFC now has got those guys back. But I look at teams in the NFC that I seriously look at. Hey, they could break through that ceiling. Like I still think there's a lot of those teams that are still a year or 2 away, and you might not see as much movement in the playoff picture as you typically do in the NFC. And I think that goes in the Bucks' favor. Like there's a lot of teams that are rebuilding.
Yeah. I think Nathan nailed it here. He says the national media does not like Todd Bowles and does not want to like Mayfield. 100%. 100%. I think that's part of it.
I think the national media actually like Todd Bowles more than sometimes we do, to be honest with you. I think he has a lot of respect on the outside for his defensive genius. And we've always had questions about him as a head coach. And think about it. This is the first time Todd Bowles has been here that we're not really questioning his head coach acumen for the first time.
He's gotten better. And I think he deserves credit because of, winning the playoff game matters.
Yeah.
I know Philadelphia kind of limped in here, but winning 5 of their last 7.
Yeah. He earned a lot of goodwill because of the way the season ended.
That ain't easy. I don't care who you're playing and when you're playing them. That ain't easy, especially where they were at.
Yeah.
To come back and win the division. That's tremendous. And that's why he deserves more respect. There's a reason I didn't mention Randy Gregory Thomas.
He's just off my radar.
We're not counting on him. I think he may be more into the bong than the Bucks. So I'm not worried about him. Nathan says, yes, the Bucks are built to be competitive every year. Jason Light has taken his lumps early as GM. Now he has the staff in place to find good and solid players. He has. There's no question about that. Jeremy Lowe says we're loaded at pass rushers. I think Marquise Watts, Jose Ramirez, these are guys that have been off the radar but have been developing. And, they're not – I don't think they're going to have 18 sack seasons. But as a whole, you want the team.
I don't know if the Bucks have a 1 necessarily, but if they have 3 or 4 2s, I mean, you'll take that at the moment.
Right. So I think as we go through this roster position by position, I think you're going to see where the upgrades have come and where they should be expected. And, first and second year players continuing to improve. And that's important as well. All right, we'll take another break. When we get back, I want to talk a little bit about the Lightning Development Camp. I want to do that. John Romano had an interesting column in the Times about the big departures from the Tampa Bay sporting landscape, the ones that really hurt and the ones that we thought were going to hurt that didn't hurt so much. I think history is a great teacher here. Learn your history. We're brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, folks. If you need a primary care physician that's going to spend more than 15 minutes with you, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, the medical director there, will do that. They'll look at your blood work, your sleep habits, your workout habits, your nutrition, everything. Stem to stern, nose to toes, as they say, and give you some great recommendations and a great plan for you, a personal plan that will work for losing weight, getting stronger, having more longevity. That's Bay Area Modern Medical Center, folks. Get someone who cares and will spend time with you. It's easy to switch over. Go to BAMMC.com. Back in 3. JP here for HydrateHeroes.com, the great electrolyte hydration drink that has all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. NFL players are using this stuff. All types of athletes are using it because it's got 5 calories. None of the bad stuff, all the good stuff. All the electrolytes are in there for you. And also Amla Fruit, which is a terrific additive in there. The mushroom blend helps with inflammation in your body. Definitely has helped me with my knees. My knee pain has gone away almost exclusively since I started drinking Hydrate Heroes. Folks, it makes a difference. I love it. Professional athletes love it. You will love it. The new Tropical Punch flavor is out. Go to tryhydrateheroes.com and get a free 3-pack. That's tryhydrateheroes.com, a free 3-pack, and get the 30-pack while you're there for just $29.99. Tryhydrateheroes.com. You'll love it.
Hey, Tampa Bay sports fans. This is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the U.S. Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right. That's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Geddes Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or a golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to gettysgordongroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
Summer is here, and it's the perfect time to shine with the exquisite June birthstones, Pearl, Alexandrite, and Moonstone at the Golden Diamond Source. Each gemstone carries its own unique significance and style, making them perfect for any summer occasion. Did you know the 30th anniversary milestone is Pearl, the traditional stone for this special occasion? And right now you can enjoy 5 years of interest-free financing. That means you can own a stunning $5,000 ring and pay only $83 a month with zero interest for 5 years. That's a great deal. And shop online and get 15% off the June birthstones. And we love our partners, local businesses that have been here for 40 years. That's right, the Golden Diamond Source has been here for 40 years. Julie and Steve Weintraub have done so much in our community. We thank them, and we shop there. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Happy summer. As we head into summer and hurricane season, you must make sure that your home is fully insured. Over 40% of people in Florida are not fully insured because property rates have gone up lately. Your home is worth more, so it needs to be insured. Call the great folks at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799 to make sure you're fully insured. And also, you might just save some money. There are new companies coming into the state all the time. In fact, we just shopped our homeowners insurance, and I'm telling you, folks, we saved over $550 because Charity, the great customer service at Italiano Insurance, did all the work and found us a better company and a cheaper company. She'll do the same for you. 813-877-7799. Do something about these high rates. Shop them around. Could save you lots of money. It's Italiano Insurance. Been doing business here locally for over 60 years. 813-877-7799. Tell them JP sent you.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, and welcome back to the JP Peterson Show on this Monday, along with Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. Eric Arlington joined us in the first hour. If you miss anything, you can always go back and listen as a podcast on Apple and Spotify. Like and subscribe to that podcast, and also our YouTube channel, the JP Peterson Show. Do that. I know we have the Kevin Cash ready in the bullpen to listen to after yesterday's game. Do you want to play that?
I mean, how does he even sum up that whole ordeal? I mean,
I listen to his post game sometimes and I go like, does he even want to be here? I know it's the
I just think so much of that team has just, and Kevin Cash included, have been so off this year. It really is. Like even some of his
bad vibe. It's
just some of his decisions. Like, you know, even the day before, like Taj was dealing, he takes Taj out. Yesterday, Littell gets into trouble. He keeps Littell in. Like there's no consistency there. Sean Armstrong has been like, I understand Sean Armstrong was great for you last year and maybe the beginning of the season, but I mean,
you said it earlier. Him out there.
How do you keep just sending him out there? Any trade value he had, he just has seemingly tanked it at this point. Yeah, it's just been a pitiful season, and they even at the record they have, like, they're so fortunate to be where they are. They really are. I mean, and everybody's, the one positive, we got an all-star. Every team gets an all-star, but congrats to Isaac Paredes because I think he's been not as hot as maybe he was at the beginning of the year, but man, for about a month and a half, there ain't anybody else in that lineup outside of Isaac Paredes that was producing. So much deserved for him. But yeah, outside of that, but I think you're seeing the silver lining though this weekend, like you said, with Shane Baz and Todd Bradley, who can't go untalked about. His last 6 starts dating back to when he had that blow up against Baltimore, he's only given up 5 earned runs, Todd Bradley. And the ERA has dipped from like over 5 to it's almost getting below 3 at this point. So
well, if you take out that 10 earned run against the Orioles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Since then, he's only given up 5 earned runs since then.
Yeah, for the entire season.
He's been lights out, and that's you start to look at it. It's like, okay, 2025 looks really good right now on paper for the Rays.
If we can get some bangers, man, we got to get some bangers. You got to get at least 2 big bats, at least. I mean, I sit here and watch some of the Major League Baseball highlights. I just watch the Texas Rangers. I mean, look at that lineup. I mean, there's just guys in there that they mash. And there's power hitters all over the league except here. Yeah. And look at last year. Look how the Rays were hitting home runs last year. Just in 1 year's time.
That's what I'm saying. The Rays, there's nothing you can hang your hat on of the Rays at the moment outside of the occasional, like again, Todd Bradley. Like sometimes the starters really have their days, but it's bad weekend of baseball. Ugly.
Yeah, I think, and again, how does this play into the deadline? All right, let's play a little bit of Kevin Cash. Let's see what we got here.
Out there in the 4th, some soft contact to add on off Armstrong in the 5th. How do you sum up those 2 big Ranger innings?
Yeah, I mean, they put it to us. They found space. We probably didn't execute the pitches like we're capable of. But saying that, I mean, you got to give credit to them. They really strung together a time and a half through the lineup of a bunch of good at-bats.
After the Caballero homer, I think you guys had just 1 hit the rest of the way. What was Nate Eovaldi doing to keep you guys off balance?
Yeah, kind of what he always does. I mean, he didn't have his best cutter today, but he certainly had the split. He had a pretty big fastball going,
for the Rays,
some early breaking balls. He's really talented, and he's been that way for a long time. He makes his pitches well, keeps you off balance just to where you just don't barrel up many balls against him.
You're playing good baseball coming into this series. How confident are you that the guys can turn the page with some big ones coming up against the Yankees and Guardians before the break?
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident. I'm excited to get back home, regroup a little bit. This certainly wasn't our best series. Today was definitely not our best game in all facets, but take the off day, enjoy it, and then get ready for, like you said, a big series.
What are you looking at that lineup?
Yeah.
Look at that. Ben Rortvedt is literally
one of your most dangerous hitters.
I mean, hell, if Ben Rortvedt's if the Rays have backdoored their way into finding their catcher, cool. I'll take it because Ben Rortvedt has really been solid this year. He's actually been
offensively. He's not great defensively.
Not great defensively, but if you look at like,
how can we not find a catcher like ever?
I don't. They've been few.
Buster Posey.
They've been few and far between. But no, Ben Rortvedt. When I was going to put this up after, if you take Isaac Paredes out of the equation, your boy Brandon Lau is second on this team now, in OPS and OPS plus. If right behind him is Ben Rortvedt. So sneaky little ad this year for the Rays. Ben Rortvedt.
Yeah, but look at Itzhak 0 for 4, Josh Lowe 0 for 4, Randy 0 for 3, Palacio.
The meat of that order right there.
Johnny DeLuca 0 for 3. Whew. Wow. That's a lot of
that order. Oof.
Yeah. It's like an Impossible Burger.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of meat. All right. Let's talk about something else, shall we? Thanks.
No, but I was just going to say real quick because the Yankees are coming up for 3. The Yankees are playing the worst baseball they've played all year. To the point where Yankee fans, I don't know why there's so many of them on my Twitter. They spawn everywhere, but they are having the biggest meltdown right now over the fact that they're having their first, true valley right now this season. They are still 55-37, mind you, the second best team in the American League. And there are Yankee fans. We're not this. Here we go again. We're not a contender. We're not built to contend. Like, holy hell, man. Like, I would take 55-37 right now. My goodness.
And that roster tells me that you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll take Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and Garrett Cole. I'll bank on him figuring it out eventually.
You'll be fine.
That's your problems.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be fine. So the Lightning development camp was this past week, and a couple of guys standing out, according to Eduardo Encina of the Times. TJ Hughes was a rising junior at Michigan. The Bolts don't own his rights, but certainly may have him on the radar coming up soon. Dylan Duke, his Michigan teammate, also impressing. And Maxim Groshev, 2020 third-round pick, extremely creative. I was hoping Geeky would show a little bit better at this development camp, but evidently he wasn't all that impressive. I wasn't there, but I haven't seen a lot of great reports on. I would have liked to see him dominate, and be really on the radar to make this team. But we'll see where it goes.
I still think you will.
Yeah.
He'll be on that radar, and I think in general. Now let's not confuse the fact that this Lightning prospect pool is like, it's not like Andre Palat and Kucherov and Tyler Johnson coming through the ranks. It's not that, but I think it is slowly, gradually, getting a little bit better. You forget Isaac Howard's still there in the mix. We got to see Lilleberg and Crozier come up, and they certainly didn't look out of place. So, I think it's starting to come along a little bit there.
Yep. So yeah, I'm excited for what this whole, and as Eric said, I don't think Julien BriseBois is done. I think there's going to be some trades, and I still think there's going to be probably a couple more adds to this team, and they're going to look a lot different. They're going to look a lot different in the top 6 and the bottom 6. And it's like we haven't even talked about Jake Guentzel. Like what he adds and what he brings.
Well, it's to me, it's very easy to analyze Jake Guentzel's game. I went back and watched every goal he scored this past year and the year before. And from what I saw, it's all in front of the net. A lot of it's right in front of the net. Some of it's really dirty. He's a smaller guy, but he's not afraid to get involved in front of the net. And a lot of his goals too is very, it was Crosby centric.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? If he plays on a line with Point and Kucherov, he's going to score 40 goals again. That's 100%. All I'm worried about.
And he's going to be a plus 27.
Yeah, he'll be a plus player. 21. I don't know what the power play is going to look like, to be honest with you. It's not.
I'm not worried.
I don't
worried
know
about the power play.
That's what I'm saying. I think they'll figure it out, but I don't know yet who's going to replace Stamkos on that first power play line. Because in theory, you'd think you'd have a righty over there. Unless they just, but we're so used to seeing Stamkos over there. Unless they just completely rearrange it.
I think if you have the talent and the skill of Nikita Kucherov, Victor Hedman and his shot, and Braden Point, wherever you put him.
You like him right in the middle, though, typically.
Yeah. And that's a good power play. That's a really good power play. And I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll be just fine. They may not be 30% where they were hovering at the end of the season last year.
Oh, no, they were at a historic rate last year.
Yeah. So I don't think that's going to happen, but they'll be fine. But it's just a philosophy. And I think the Lightning, you're 26th which is where they were in defense most of the year. You're not winning anything. Like, you're just not. Yeah. And again, a couple, I don't know who said it earlier in the comments, but there seems to be a lot of blame that was all on Stammer, and that's not what we're saying. But they're just, as a group, Stammer being gone, McDonough getting younger, faster, more committed to the defensive end is going to make you a better overall team, especially in the playoffs. Again, I don't think these changes are about the regular season. It's about the playoffs and being a better playoff team, which is how you win Stanley Cups. Yeah, as Jeremy says, plus Cooch is going to be really pissed off going into next season. I think that was something I was going to ask Eric. How do you think the Stamkos thing plays in the locker room? In other words, like, what is Cooch feeling about this organization right now? traded away his best buddy in Sergey and Stamkos. Like, where's Cooch at right now?
It's the biggest question.
Yeah.
Certainly remaining.
Yeah. And it's the hardest one to answer because you're talking about, personalities, emotions.
Yeah. I don't really have a good answer for it. Like, obviously I think they're all shell shocked by it. I mean, you heard Hedman speak about it. Like, that's been his best friend for, what did he say, the last 15, 16 years? Like, and these guys are very close. And so I definitely think that relationship. But Kucherov, and I'm not going to act like I'm in the locker room. Kucherov, to me, feels like the kind of guy who sort of, I don't know if marched by the beat of his own drum is the phrase I'm looking for.
All business.
Yeah, like
hockey.
he's all business, all hockey. I don't know if he's necessarily into the emotional part of it like that.
I would agree.
But I think there certainly is going to be an effect, at least initially. But then again, these guys have seen, I know Stamkos maybe is in a little bit of a different tier, but we've seen so many guys come and go that have been staples in that locker room.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you retain Hedman. Hedman, I think for sure,
Stamkos has been the glue.
He's been the glue, but I think your leadership, I'll call it, I'm going to phrase it as a leadership council, is because I think Hedman's going to inherit the captaincy. And then you figure McDonough's going to wear one of the A's. And then you figure probably a guy like Cirelli is going to probably get the other A or something like that. Like, you still have a lot of veteran leaders there that I think are able to rally the room together.
Paul Thomason from our Extravaganza Productions has a great point here. Says, hey, JP, love all the local sports news, but how about a little chatter about the amazing Caitlin Clark and her triple-double against the very solid New York Liberty this weekend? Look at Paul Thomason watching WNBA. Yeah, absolutely. First one ever by a rookie in the history of the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she's starting to really, really flex her muscles now.
Yeah.
As a rookie. And not to go unnoticed, so is Angel Reese, by the way. She
by law, you must mention her and her double streak going.
Record that's not impressive? My goodness. I mean, she's playing lights out basketball, really. And both of them, I think both of them are tremendous for the league. And I'm glad that we haven't had any more controversies in the last couple of weeks and we can just focus on the games.
Right.
And just watching them go out there and ball. So, but yeah. The first rookie triple double, right?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of rookies in the history of the WNBA. So
a lot of great ones. A lot of great ones.
That's going to be fun to watch too. I think they're doing that.
Caitlin Clark, and she's doing things that they've never done. Fastest to 300, 100, 100. First triple double. So all these things that the Diana Taurasi's and Rebecca Lobos and all the haters and Asia Wilson.
Asia Wilson's not a hater.
She is.
Asia Wilson hasn't said anything about her.
Beg to differ.
I have not seen anything from Asia Wilson. She seems like
I just got divisive. That's my bad. I take that back. All right, going to get to this great column that John Romano wrote about departures. We're all in our fields. As kids like to say about Stamkos, and I mentioned this at the top of the show. When Tony Dungy was fired and the way he was fired, I was crushed. But I also recognized that Tony was really had a hard time getting it done on offense. And, so much so that he almost quit over the fact that the Glazers forced him to fire Mike Shula. So, it's like it sucked. And I'm glad Tony got his Super Bowl. But it's true. Everybody was like, ugh. How can you do this? I'll never be a Buck fan again. Oh, we just won a Super Bowl? Oh, yeah, we're champions. Marty says, as he mentioned here, Marty was traded. The next year, the Lightning were in the final.
Yeah.
Longoria was traded 3 years later. The Rays were in the World Series. So sometimes bold moves have to be made.
And Longoria's best baseball was done, right, when the Rays traded him. As much as it hurt, it was true.
Yeah. And then you looked at his top five that really hurt. Josh Hamilton. This was one of the greatest mistakes the Rays ever made, and it was crazy. When they brought him back and he went into rookie league in 2006, I remember going out to watching, the performance that he put on when they brought him back out at the Namoli complex. This dude's hitting 500-foot home runs over this 30-foot center field wall that says 405, and he's hitting them over the wall. Like, I know he had been out of baseball for 5 years on drugs at that point, and that you leave him off the roster, the 40-man roster, and the Reds picked him up. He goes, and then from 08 to 12, he hits 305, averaged 36 home runs, 126 RBIs. And that's when the Rays were good from 08 to the 12. There's no question that cost them at least one World Series. If he's in the middle of that lineup with Joe Madden and those teams, that was a disaster.
Yeah.
And nobody really, it was kind of,
I don't even think about that one.
Drugs.
Like when I thought about it, I was like, Josh Hamilton, like, really don't talk about that one.
And as Romano says, who they left on the 40-man roster instead of Hamilton, John Switzer, who went 0-2 with an 8.05 ERA. Mitch Talbot, the great Mitch Talbot, who had 11.17 ERA in 08. The great Damon Hollins, who never played.
Oh, Damon Hollins. Now we're really going to the archive.
Rich McKay. When Rich McKay left in that power struggle where basically John Gruden kicked him out the door and Gruden said it's either him or me, and they just go 2 1s and 2 2s for John Gruden. They're going to get rid of him. But before McKay, the Bucks were 43 and 166. After McKay, with McKay, they were 86 and 74, 5 playoffs and a Super Bowl. When he left, they were 66 and 94. Ouch, babe. Ouch, babe. And when he left, everybody's like, whatever. Yeah, that was a killer. Ryan McDonough. Plus 246 rating. 4th best in the league since 2000. The Lightning were 58 and 31 in the postseason with McDonough. They're 3 and 8 without him. Charlie Morton. We talk about this all the time. Charlie Morton. For $15 million. They didn't pick up his option. He went on to go 42 and 29 with a 3.79 ERA for the Braves and win a World Series. Bruce Arians. The offense scored 30 points a game. Without him, 18.4 points a game. And as you mentioned, 2022 was not a whole lot of fun.
God, can't get away from that year.
Even though the worst playoff season of all time. So you never know. When people leave, it could be good. It could be bad. You just don't know. But I do know this, keeping guys around for sentimentality and emotion is not a prescription for winning.
Yeah. This is a good one from Jeremy Lowe. Bucks letting Michael Bennett walk.
Yes.
Hurt. My goodness. Yeah. That hurt Gerald. That hurt not only the Bucks. That hurt not only the Bucks pass rush, but it hurt Gerald McCoy dearly.
Yeah, that was stupid. Yeah, we'll get into this a little bit more tomorrow. Some of the others that were let go. Roman Hamrlik and Chris Gratton. Yeah. It's you just never know. And you got to move on. The Lightning will be fine, and so will Stamkos. Nashville's loaded. Nashville is loaded. I'll be interested to see how they do as well. All right, great job, Nick Geddes. Appreciate you. Thank you, all our commenters today. You guys are always awesome. We appreciate you. Don't forget, you can always listen as a podcast. Like and subscribe on our YouTube page. Just take a second to go like and subscribe. We need to get those subscribers up to 1,000 so we can make some money. Please do that. Thank you, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Scott Reynolds will be joining us from Pewter Report.